Welcome to another episode of Wellness Wednesday with Britt. This week we're talking about nutrition and the importance of paying attention to what you put into your body. When you have any kind of chronic illness or any malady for that matter, you can actually heal yourself with the foods that you eat. But on the other side of that coin, you can harm yourself and make things worse with the foods that you eat. So we're going to be talking to a plant-based nutrition and wellness coach out of the Bay Area who's going to kind of give us some guidelines and rules of thumb that we can follow. So let's go ahead and get into that. We are speaking with Sachi Georgieva, who is a plant-based nutrition and health coach, and she's here to talk to us about the importance of what we fuel our bodies with. Sachi, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you. So I really enjoy looking at your Instagram page, which everyone, I'm going to put a link to her Instagram at the end of this video. You have so much color and variety in the different meals and ideas that you post. That was one of the things that really drew me to your account. If you could just give me a little bit of a background, like what is your background in nutrition and plant-based eating? How did you get into this?
Sure. So yeah, my Instagram handle is The Colorful Coach, and I sort of wanted to bring in that idea of colorful food. So every time I post, I do try to keep it as colorful as possible because I'm encouraging, anyone who follows me or sees my stuff to do the same in their life. But I got into nutrition. For me, I feel like it was pretty late in the game because I've been a personal trainer for almost 10 years. And for the first probably 6 or 7 years, I wasn't really into nutrition at all. I was very much into the fitness piece of health and helping people, get in touch with their bodies, feel better in their bodies, feel strong, all of those things. Because that was my personal journey. Sorry about my dog.
No worries.
I might have to move her. And then my husband and I went vegan, not for health reasons, but, I started incorporating a lot more plant-based foods into my life. Whole plant-based foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, that kind of thing. And I felt way better than I did before. And it did take me by surprise because I went into veganism with some of the sort of typical concerns about what I might not be getting, what I had to be careful of and all, the misconceptions I think that people have about plant-based eating. And then, the opposite happened where I was just like, whoa, I'm like, I have so much more energy. My skin cleared up. I had acne since I was a teenager into adulthood. And that was like a really unexpected bonus. My digestion got worlds better. And that got me interested in nutrition because I was like, okay, that's the only thing I've changed. So like, how do I feel so much better just from that? And then, I went down the hole and I got certified in holistic nutrition. And now I'm sort of trying to just spread the knowledge to everyone else.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, all of those bonuses, I think I would be inclined to want to stick with it too. And what's really interesting is you spoke about the misconceptions with fitness and veganism.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about, will I be able, because, I think protein, especially when, you're trying to pack on muscle for, bodybuilders 100%. And things like that.
Yep.
And I have seen so many bodybuilders who compete for vegan.
Mm-hmm.
And that
was mind-blowing to me when I first went vegan. I was like, oh, of course it's possible. But you don't know until you look into it.
That's so true. That's true of anything. So to go a little bit with what you've already said, your personal observations about that, what other, working with some of your clients, what other observations about the importance of nutrition and specifically, veganism and just plant-based nutrition have you observed that have helped people?
So I'm still new to being a health coach, so I wish I had a bunch of life-changing stories to tell you, but maybe in the future I will. What I've seen with most people are similar to what I've experienced a lot of times. And then it just depends on what health problems they come in with. But a lot of it has to do with improved digestion, which strangely ties into your, not strangely, I know why, but it ties into your energy levels throughout the day. So people do end up feeling like they have better, more sustained energy through the day. One of my clients was very young. She's 25, or at least at the time we worked together was 25, and diagnosed pre-diabetic, and a lot of type 2 diabetes in her family. So she wanted to sort of get on top of that. And she had a pretty big transformation when she would eat, whole food plant-based versus when she was not really sure what she was eating. But yeah, I've read a lot of other people's experiences also going plant-based that really, when you see it enough times and then you understand the science of nutrition, it all makes sense. So hopefully anyone who eats more plant-based just feels better and better.
Yeah, definitely. At my chiropractor's office, she has a sign that talks about how your immune system begins in your gut.
Yep.
And
huge.
The more you talk about digestion and the importance of it, I'm really seeing how true that is.
I'm going to recommend you one book because I just read it and it came out recently. It's called Fiber Fueled. It's one of the best books I've ever read in terms of explaining so many different processes that happen in the body based on your gut, and really tangible, practical ways of understanding that, not above your head type of sciencey info.
You said that was called Fiber Fueled?
Fiber Fueled, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out. So going on that same line of questioning, what foods would you recommend, since I work a lot with the chronic illness community? There's a lot of typical issues that people deal with, right. And I know inflammation is a number one issue. A weakened immune system is number two, especially right now, with what's going on with the pandemic. What types of foods or food groups would you recommend for issues if you have a lot of inflammation in your body, or if you want to address a weakened immune system?
I'll give you the broad strokes advice, because for some people, I'll just preface this with, if you have food sensitivities, you generally want to be figuring out what those are, and avoiding them, or at least temporarily eliminating them and sort of strengthening your gut before you try to add things in. But in terms of what I would recommend to anyone, as close to whole foods as possible, as much of the time as you can. So if you can avoid the prepackaged, pre-cooked, a lot of additives types of foods, even with beverages, try not to drink soda and that kind of thing. But plant foods as close to their natural form as possible. So I had mentioned before, but fruits in their whole form, not necessarily just buying a juice, but eat an apple, eat an orange, eat a banana. Vegetable legumes, I think a lot of people avoid because they'll get gastrointestinal distress and think that is inflammation, but it's just your gut adapting to be able to digest those.
Oh, okay.
So typically I would say, if you notice a sensitivity to legumes, try to eat them in smaller doses when you're first incorporating them, and then that honestly should get better within 2 weeks. 1 to 2 weeks of eating them regularly, your microbiome adjusts, and then you'll have the right bugs that can digest legumes. But they're quite health promoting, nutrient dense foods that I think a lot of people cut out too quickly. And then whole grains, nuts and seeds. And then I'm always talking about herbs and spices. You really want to be flavoring those in. They add so much nutrient density, and you don't need that much of them. But they pack it in there for you. But that's the gist.
Nice. Well, that's pretty informative right there. And I know for me, I do have a tendency to kind of avoid legumes because of the very issues that you spoke of. But I mean, consistency is key with anything, right?
Mhm.
And like
But
you
things
said,
like tempeh, which you had mentioned prior to the
Mhm.
call,
Right.
because they're like fermented, they
Hmm.
go down a little bit easier. Like I would recommend if people can sort of soften their digestive process with things like that, definitely tempeh, tofu are good
Okay.
options.
And so on a side note to that, I hear a lot about eating sprouted,
Hmm.
um, you know, what is it, sprouted grains, like, there's
Hmm.
the Ezekiel
Sprouted
bread.
beans, sprouted. Mhm.
Um, what is the benefit to eating something that's sprouted or, sprouted grains
So a
versus
lot of that
natural?
has to do with it's sort of like pre-digestion for you. So it's sort of helping the digestive process along. So when you're sprouting it, well, number one, you're getting like way more nutrients for a lot of these, but you're making it easier down the line to digest. So it sort of like pre-breaks down a lot of the things that might be hard on our bodies. So your gut doesn't have to do that work for you.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I could have, easily done a quick Google search, but I
Specific
mean, it's just
energy.
kind of been in the back of my head, like what is the deal with sprouted?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, you're really into fitness. Energy plays a key role
Mm-hmm.
in any kind of fitness routine.
Yes.
What are, for you personally, what are some of your go-to energy foods? Like if you want, or,
Quick
pre-workout
energy.
or,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Fruit is probably my top one for the same reason that a lot of people seem to avoid fruit, but it's because of their higher sugar carb content, because that is the fuel that we run on. So if I am having like a low energy moment or need a little boost, that would be the first thing that I grab is like a piece of whole fruit, usually bananas and apples or some kind of citrus are my top ones. Um, any kind of smoothie if I'm like in a rush. So usually for the smoothie, I will add in other things like flax seeds and a protein powder. But if I want something very quick, the first thing I go for is a piece of fruit.
Wow. I honestly wouldn't have thought that that would be your go-to thing,
Yeah,
but then, like you said, the sugar is energy, but you're getting your sugar from
from whole
the
foods.
natural source
Yeah,
rather than something
yeah.
refined.
Mm-hmm.
Like, heretofore, in recent years, um, I was working out with a personal trainer,
Mm-hmm.
but my go-to, yeah, was still, she was like sugar and caffeine, doing the put together, energy drinks or something.
Oh yeah.
And it really didn't, it didn't
Didn't have
really
a
work out
lot of
that
it.
well. Um, so just to kind of give like a little wrap up, what what advice would you give to someone who is completely new to, shopping the perimeter of the grocery store and they're used to getting, because I mean, when you have a chronic illness, cooking is one of the hardest things to
Yeah,
do. And so you're usually getting convenience foods,
yeah,
that's usually going to be, frozen, prepackaged,
yeah.
foods. So what advice would you give to somebody that really wants to change how they're eating to be more nutritious and nourishing?
Mm-hmm.
But because I know for me, I think automatically, if I want to start eating nourishing, nutritious meals, I'm going to have to be like slaving over a stove, So what would be kind of some baby steps that you
Um,
recommend?
Yeah, okay. So my first thing that came to mind when you were talking about convenience is I would have people do a little bit of research into brands that are more on the whole food side that still give them that convenience, because there are a couple out there. There's one called Engine 2, which I believe is only sold at Whole Foods. So it does, in terms of accessibility, I know it's not everywhere. And there's another one called McDougal's. And they're a little bit more in the realm of like convenience, but also trying to keep you healthy. So I would, take a little bit of time to see if you are trying to go faster, um, what brands might provide that for you. And then in terms of the whole foods and having to cook more, piece of it. A lot of it seems more overwhelming than it is, I think. So I would like inch people in the direction of like, try one new thing a week, you know, and start with one meal. Don't try to like do your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you know, and all change them at the same time. So for 1 week, be like, okay, this week my breakfasts are going to be all whole foods. And breakfast is a good one to start with because they can be really easy. You can do like a whole wheat toast, peanut butter, you know, something like that, or overnight oats, or chia pudding, you know, like something that you can make ahead of time and then you don't have to make it again.
Right.
So start like that. And then when it comes to like shopping the perimeter and like learning new ways to cook, the thing that helped me the most was like, let yourself get excited about food and what it can do for you, because it'll change your experience going in with it, where instead of like dreading it or not wanting to learn a new thing, you're like excited about trying that new thing. Or, I mean, that's why I like the colorful plate too, because it's like, it looks exciting to eat. So yeah, maybe just try to shift your mind around it. And also you probably, like in most cases, you will feel the difference. And I would like try to keep that in the back of your head. And when you're changing habits, that like you're focusing on what it can do for you, how you will feel later, or how much better you could feel.
That makes sense. You know, like you like you said, don't try to go, you know, all the way right away, because that's honestly where I have personally made a lot of my mistakes, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to meal prep for the whole week, and I'm going to, you know, do all 3 of my meals. And then it's like, maybe I get through a week of that. I'm just like,
you're tired.
You know, I'm not as excited about the food and what it's going to do for me. I'm more looking at it as, this is another chore, and I wasn't doing it for the right reasons, and I was trying to do everything all at once. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So real quick, if anybody wants to get, you know, further into this and you know, learn about this and realize, you know, further what food can do to help them heal, really. What do you offer that's available to people that are looking to get healthy and learn about what food can do for them?
Yeah, I have a free guide that's, if they go to my website or my Instagram, it's a free beginner's guide to plant-based eating. So that pretty much has like all the things that I talked about today, but in a list form, and hopefully answers any concerns people have about what they could eat, or what they need to supplement, if they did need to supplement anything. So you can download that for free, just by giving your email address. And then I have a meal prep ebook that goes into a lot more in depth of just the lifestyle of healthy plant-based eating. And that's available on my website. And then I also do one-on-one coaching. So it's a little bit like what we talked about here. I think these are common questions, the questions that you're asking. And a lot of times people just need more consistent guidance. And so that's what my one-on-one services are for. It's to answer your questions. It's the, you know, the practical education piece of it, but also so you have someone to go through it with, holding you accountable, keeping you on top of it on those days when you're just like, I don't feel like it, but you know, you have to answer to someone.
Exactly. Well, Sakshi, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. And your website is the colorfulcoach.com. Okay, I will be sure to add that to the end of this video. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know I'm going to be speaking with you further, and I just, again, thank you so much for speaking with me today, and you have a wonderful afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me on here. I'll talk to you soon, but I love being able to talk to anyone about this stuff. So hopefully everyone got something out of it.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.